Folks, this plan is doomed from the start. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending April 10th, 2024. I was speaking with somebody about they absolutely need to sell because they can't make their mortgage payments and it's just way too tough for them. And as I get into more details and find out their whole scenario, I find out the reason they can't make their payments, because they have been for a couple years now, is that their basement tenant has not paid their rent for about 6 months. And they're stuck now and they can't pay because they need that money from the basement tenant in order to top up their own income to be able to afford to make the monthly payments for their mortgage. I want to talk about this because there are thousands and thousands of homeowners across the GTA living in this type of scenario where they absolutely need the rental income. And in this scenario, I'm focused more on a homeowner that has the basement rented. They need the basement income in order to pay the mortgage for the whole property. Now, I don't have a stat or data. I'm not even sure if it exists on which parts of the GTA have this type of scenario more than other parts. But in my experience, in dealing with sellers and buyers and dealing with all sorts of different parts of the GTA, I feel I'm under the impression that Mississauga and Brampton have perhaps the higher percentage of that type of scenario. I meet a lot of buyers that'll tell me upfront right away their plan is to buy a property to be able to rent the basement apartment right away. Like day one, they want to put the ad for their basement rental before we've even closed on the home. You know, this plan, I got to say, is this plan of home ownership is flawed right from the beginning. Can you imagine? You are every month waiting and counting on your tenant to pay their rent bill to you so you can in turn add that to your money to be able to pay your mortgage to the lender who gave you the money to buy the home in the first place. It's whether you think about it or not, it can be stressful every single month. And then if your tenant is late, never mind them not paying. Even if they're late, there's a stressful situation because you've got to come up with their money. You got to pay, in a sense, their rent on their behalf. The plan should be, I'm going to buy a home. I can afford the whole home. I can afford the maintenance, the mortgage payments. I can afford it all based on our household income. Now, if I have the scenario of being able to rent the basement, wonderful. But that money should be considered bonus money. I shouldn't be counting on and depending on the basement tenant paying so I could pay the mortgage. That's just way too stressful, first of all. And you just know there's going to be scenarios where they can't. You just know that, and you should plan for that. Well, if you can afford the payments on your own and you don't need the basement tenant, you're better off. And yeah, it might mean you've got to buy a smaller property. It might mean you need to wait another year in order to buy. You're better off because there's no point in buying it and then losing it, because that's a way worse scenario. Rent money should be considered a surplus, a bonus to do something else with. And it could be saving for another property. It could help you to do that. But whatever it is, it shouldn't be dependent on and counted on to pay your mortgage payment. And it's just way too many people living that way right now. And there's enough issues going on as far as life and expenses that have gone up over the last few years. Don't start off on the wrong foot buying a property and calculating into your monthly income the basement rental apartment, because there's going to be times where it's just not there. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, it's really simple. Up here, there's a link. Below this description, below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. In this video, we're focused on detached properties only for Mississauga, for Brampton, and for the Durham region. For Durham, I'm using Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby, those three cities, as my Durham sample. These are average sold price. Mississauga, as always, far superior as far as average price goes to Brampton and the Durham region. Brampton and Durham kind of jockey back and forth to see who has the highest average price, but Mississauga is way up there. Big difference between, say, the Brampton is like a $330,000 difference between average sold price in Brampton versus Mississauga. We're going to start off with Mississauga. Again, folks, this is for detached properties only. I have here on the board for week ending April 10, broken down by week for a whole year. 47 detached properties were sold. Now you'll see in most parts of the GTA, April 10th, which is what I'm reporting on now, versus the previous week, sales did go up. The previous week was the Easter long weekend. Things just tend to slow down when it comes over Easter, and we see that not just for Easter. Most long weekends, sales tend to dip. Average price can do something totally different, but sales usually dip over a long weekend. So the fact that sales went up, in this case, you can see we've kind of gone up to more normal type numbers. So 47 detached properties were sold for week ending April 10th. 8 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price down a bit over the previous week to $1,561,000. If we go back to, I don't want to talk about the Christmas, New Year period. Those numbers don't, you really shouldn't put too much value on what happens between Christmas and New Year's and the few weeks before and after. But if we start looking, say, by the end of January, we can see a big trend in upward pressure in price when it comes to Mississauga detached properties. Compared to last year, 1,561 is 1% higher than where we were this time a year ago. The median price, there's no change. It's $1,450,000. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. That for median and average price is trending upwards. 47 were sold, more than half, 53% sold at list price or more, and it's been quite steady there. Although the previous week was 32, we had 50, 43, 43, 47. It's maybe an argument to say that percentage is slowly trending upwards. 132 were listed, so a bunch more detached properties came on the market than we're used to seeing. Active listings is increasing, and months of inventory sitting at 2.1. I would say here's what should happen. As months of inventory go up, because months of inventory is really the relationship between supply and demand. As months of inventory go up, prices normally would be trending down. That's the example we see everywhere when that scenario happens. And the reverse, as months of inventory come down, price tends to go up. That's not what we're seeing here. Kind of looks like months of inventory is trending up, but so are prices, and they're not supposed to be doing that. Here's Brampton. 55 detached properties were sold, so sales bit sluggish there. And when I say that, it's in relation to what we were doing before. So sluggish compared to what we were doing over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks. One of those properties sold at $2 million or more. However, the combination of those properties managed to bring average sold price way up to $1.236 million. 1,236 is 2% higher than where we were this time versus a year ago. The median price is 1% lower. 55 were sold. We said 42% sold at list price or more. So maybe there's something happening, because Brampton has been taking a beating for a while when it comes to prices. Lots of new listings though. 173 were listed. Now when I say lots, it's in relation to what we were seeing before. So 173 were listed. Months of inventory sitting at 2.4. And except for this 1 week we're in now, with months of inventory trending up, kind of looks like prices have been trending down. This 1 week, we need to see the next few weeks to figure out how do we take this 1 week? Is this the new norm, or is it just one of those freaky weeks that, we should just kind of maybe not put too much value into? Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. 59 detached properties were sold. One of those was at $2 million or more. Average sold price in the Durham region, especially Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby, has for a few weeks now been taking a beating. We did see a trend going up, but now for 4 or 5 weeks, it's starting to go the other way. Compared to last year, 1118 is 3% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median of $1,080,000 is 5% lower. And you see the dotted line here was trending up, now starting to go the other way. 59 were sold, but a high percentage, 73, sold at list price or more. That's a lot. 112 were listed. Months of inventory, extremely low. This is an extreme seller's market. We're looking at 1 month of inventory. Here's a quick summary. You got Pickering and Ajax way here, way down at 1%, but Mississauga, Brampton, 2.1, 2.4. I did put condos for Peel region just to give you a contrast. The detached or freehold market, very, very different than what's happening in the condo market. We do a whole separate show about condos, but you're going to have a seller's market in some neighborhoods. Other instances, you're going to be kind of in more of a balanced type market. I don't think you're going to experience a buyer's market, which is way up here, more than 5 months of inventory. I don't think you're going to experience it anywhere unless it's some weird situation scenario. But that home that's sitting there that isn't selling, that you think is a buyer's market, the minute they adjust their price to more realistic numbers, it'll sell fast. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.